Welcome back to Freeway Findings, everyone. After an unintended long break, I really apologize for that. But I just got sidetracked with a lot of other things. But how about those Los Angeles Rams? How about them? So, in case you weren't aware, Thursday Night Football, Rams 38, Vikings 31. Jared Goff was amazing. And this was the first time that you really had to say, whoa, that was all Jared Goff. It wasn't Todd Gurley, it wasn't the defense, it was all Jared Goff. And right now you got all these people saying, well, Sean McVay is just that good. I mean, look, this guy couldn't throw a football his rookie year, and now he's a Pro Bowl quarterback. I wonder why. Oh, yeah, he has the best coach in the NFL. Sean McVay, excuse me, best young coach in the NFL. No. Sean McVay doesn't go out there and make those throws. Sean McVay can come up with these plays, have this great offense for Jared Goff. But Sean McVay is not the guy out there throwing the football. Jared Goff is. If Jared Goff couldn't play, it would be shown. It would show. Jared Goff is a real thing. And this really goes to show you how bad Jeff Fisher is. Jeff Fisher is a terrible coach. How he got to a Super Bowl, I have no idea. Because, 2 years ago, 2017, we were saying, Jared Goff can't throw. He can't play. He's not even good. But guess what? Jared Goff can play. And he is a real quarterback in the NFL. There should be more concerns about Dak Prescott than there should be about Jared Goff. Find me the last guy who was David Carr in his first season, and then a couple years later is Kurt Warner. No one. He goes from looking like David Carr, David Carr, Jamarcus Russell, or Ryan Leaf. Take your pick. Any of those first round quarterbacks who could not play to looking like Kurt Warner, who is amazing. Take your pick of who Jared Goff looks like. I think he looks like Kurt Warner. And he has the same stat line as Kurt Warner, too. Maybe not exactly, but he has relatively the same stats as Kurt Warner. And this season with the Rams is really proving a couple of things that have come around recently in the NFL that never used to happen. At least the first one hasn't. So here's what it is. You have your rookie quarterback. You drafted him a year or 2 years ago. He's still on his rookie deal. While he's still on his rookie deal, you go out, you trade for or sign free agents, whatever you have to do. You go out and you get a bunch of really good players, get them on 1-2 year deals, and you go out and you win a Super Bowl while you're still paying your quarterback nothing. And that particular plan of building a team, Super Bowl winning team, add on to that, has worked for not three straight teams, but 3 straight teams with young quarterbacks. The Seahawks did it with Russell Wilson. The Eagles did it with Carson Wentz. And now the Rams are doing it with Jared Goff. The Seahawks had guys like Malcolm Smith and Percy Harvin. The Eagles got guys like Torrey Smith and Alshon Jeffrey, and probably other guys that I'm blanking on right now. LeGarrette Blount, Trey Burton. And then you see the Rams go out and get free agent Ndamukong Suh. They trade for Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib, who are both have 1 year left on a contract. And they're building a team that is great, probably the most complete roster in the NFL, while they're paying Jared Goff nothing. Yes, they're giving big contracts out to Brandon Cooks, another guy who they acquired who was on a 1 year deal, and Todd Gurley and Aaron Donald. They're signing these core players on their team to large contracts so they can lock them up. And before they have to sign Jared Goff to a larger contract than any of those guys, they're going out and they're trying to win a Super Bowl with this roster, which is a great roster. So I think this is going to become a lot more popular in the NFL because the NFL is a copycat league. And spending big in free agency has never really worked well for teams until recently. I mean, the Eagles had that big spending spree, I think back in like 2012 or 13 when they signed all these aging players and built it as a super team and finished out of playoff contention. The Redskins did that, I think, at 2000. Spending big in free agency has never really worked well for teams. But now you got the rest of these teams in the NFL thinking, hey, if the Seahawks did it and the Eagles did it and they both won Super Bowls, then why can't I do it? And the other thing is, this is how you win in the NFL. This is the blueprint that you should follow if you're rebuilding an NFL team. Get your quarterback, protect him, and get other players. Primarily get a pass rusher. For the pass rusher situation, the Rams already had Aaron Donald, so they didn't need to worry about that. But what did the Rams do in 2017? Besides going out and getting Sean McVay, they got old Andrew Whitworth, who the Bengals didn't re-sign, and they signed him to a 3-year deal. And Andrew Whitworth has been exactly what Jared Goff needs. Left tackle, quarterback, pass rusher. Those are the 3 players you have that will bring you success in the NFL. And you saw the Rams trade for Sammy Watkins from the Bills last year. That trade was a disappointment, and the Rams wanted to get Jared Goff more weapons, so they got him Brandin Cooks. So now you have Brandin Cooks. You add that with all the other offseason acquisitions, Marcus Peters, Aqib Talib, and Ndamukong Suh. I mean, this team is about the most complete team in the NFL. What they did have to give up were linebackers like Robert Quinn and Alec Ogletree. That's what they had to sacrifice. So if you're looking for a weakness on the Los Angeles Rams, there it is, linebackers. They had to give up the linebackers to be able to handle the Peters, Talib, Suh, Brandin Cooks, and probably these big paydays that they're giving to Aaron Donald and Todd Gurley. Which Aaron Donald is now going to be overshadowed by how good Khalil Mack is, and I don't think Aaron Donald will win a Defensive Player of the Year award again in the NFC because of how good Khalil Mack is. But I mean, the Rams' core for a decade is going to be Jared Goff, Brandin Cooks, Todd Gurley, Aaron Donald. Those are going to be your 4 best players in 5 years. And they're all going to be making big pay checks. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but once again, I'm going to say this again. The Rams have the best roster in the NFL. They're set at quarterback, running back, wide receivers. Cooper Kupp could be a 1 on several teams. Offensive line is great. Pass rushers on their defensive line, amazing. Corners, Aqib Talib is injured, but Marcus Peters is very good. When Aqib Talib is healthy again, that's a scary secondary. If you're playing that team in the postseason, like if you're Minnesota and you have to face Peters and Talib, one's going to be on Adam Thielen, one's going to be on Stephon Diggs. Who's your third receiver? Robinson? If Laquan Treadwell isn't cut by the postseason and he's your guy who's opened, what are you going to do? Now, that is the one thing that the Rams have to deal with this year that they didn't have to deal with last year. Injury issues. Marcus Peters, it looked like, tore his Achilles and would be out for the season. God bless, it's only a strained calf. And Aqib Talib has had to have ankle surgery and is going to be out until at least week 12, which is a hit, but the Rams were fine against Minnesota. And I think Minnesota's the best overall team that they're going to face all year. So I think the Rams have gotten their toughest game out of the way. I know they have to play Kansas City. That's not going to be easy, but I think the Vikings are better than Kansas City. And to top it all off, the Rams have the best punter in the league. And if Greg Zuerlein can stay healthy, He's one of the better kickers. I think it's him and Justin Tucker. Those are the two best kickers in the league, in my opinion. And then their kick return guy, Pharoh Cooper, is also great. He is also injured, though. I haven't heard when he's going to be back, but I think he's going to be out for about the same length Talib is going to be out for. So, I mean, the Rams have taken some injury hits, but nothing really extremely serious. And with the schedule that they have, I don't really think anything that they can't overcome. Now, I said this on Sports from Coast to Coast about the Bears and how I don't like to compare teams of the present to teams of the past, but I just can't help to not see the similarities between this Rams team and the greatest show on turf when the Rams were still in St. Louis. I mean, Jared Goff reminds me so much of Kurt Warner. So, I mean, if there's your parallel to the greatest show on turf, Goff and Warner. I mean, Todd Gurley and Marshall Faulk, Brandon Cooks and Isaac Bruce, Robert Woods and Torrey Holt, or if you want to put Cooper Kupp in that position, Cooper Kupp and Torrey Holt. I mean, everything. It's just this team parallels the greatest show on turf. Now, if they go 6-0 to start the season, it's the greatest show on turf. Part 2. I'm sorry, but that is what will push me over, and I will proclaim this team as the new greatest show on turf. Except they're playing on grass. And, you know, you're getting these people who have Jared Goff's rookie season burnt into their heads. The images of him looking horrible when he had no offensive line and no real players on that team. And the Jeff Fisher years, that's what Jared Goff is. It's true, your first impression can make so much of a difference. Now let's look at someone who isn't going in the complete opposite direction. Dak Prescott was great his rookie year, and Dak Prescott has not really been that good. Now, Dak Prescott is definitely much better than Jared Goff was his rookie season, but Dak Prescott, I'm not handing the keys of the franchise to Dak Prescott if he's playing like this. Heck yeah, am I handing it to Jared Goff if he's playing like this? And the thing that everyone is saying about this is that this is Sean McVay. And it's Sean McVay is getting most of the credit. 75 to 85% of the credit Sean McVay is getting. I'm sure some people are saying, oh, this is all Sean McVay and Todd Gurley. Well, let's go back to that game against Minnesota. How many touchdowns did Todd Gurley run for? 0. How many touchdowns did Todd Gurley have? A single receiving touchdown. And it wasn't a little shovel pass or a 10-yard screen that Todd Gurley ran 60 yards into the end zone. It was Jared Goff threw it to Todd Gurley in the end zone. I mean, that game was all Jared Goff. Jared Goff put up 5 touchdowns. And again, back to the greatest show on turf for a second. First time since Kurt Warner. I know I just repeated myself and I sound like the most broken record in the world, but it's true. That's exactly what it is. It's Jared Goff not getting the credit. And Jared Goff deserves to get credit for this. It's like how you call out Russell Wilson and say, oh, Russell Wilson needs to step up. Russell Wilson is the reason why you're watchable. So I want to end this off by taking a look at what the Rams have left for the season. And to be honest, I don't really think there's that much that's going to be too difficult. Unless there's catastrophic injuries, I don't think the Rams are going to lose many games for the rest of the season. I think they'll lose 3 games at the most. And every team that the Rams play has a fundamental flaw or glaring weakness. And it starts in Seattle. Seattle has no offensive line. And Russell Wilson is going to be running for his life. And you saw how that worked out against the Bears. and I don't think it's going to be much better for Russell against the Rams. Then they go to the Broncos. I mean, the Broncos have Case Keenum. I mean, the Broncos will still be in that first 4 or 5 weeks of the season when they play really well in Denver, but the Rams are just a better team than the Denver Broncos. Then we go to San Francisco. The Niners lost Jimmy Garoppolo for the season. The Green Bay Packers have been meh this entire season with a significant helping of Aaron Rodgers. And if Aaron Rodgers can't beat the Redskins, he's not beating the Rams. Then in first game in November, they're in New Orleans. The New Orleans Saints don't play any defense. I mean, let's be honest. If the Rams put up 38 points on the Vikings defense, they are not losing to the Saints. I know they're playing the Saints at home. The Saints play no defense. They played no defense against Atlanta. That's why it went to overtime. Now, that game would just be a question of, is Drew Brees going to put up as many points as the Rams are going to put up? Then they go to Seattle again, or Seattle comes to LA. That's the same thing. No offensive line. We talked about that already. The Bears, or excuse me, I'm 2 games ahead. The Chiefs, that I think is their next and last super tough game of the season. They had 2 tough games. The Vikings and the Chiefs, they get both those teams at home. Kansas City is good. Kansas City doesn't play a lot of defense either. I mean, they gave up 21 unanswered points to Ben Roethlisberger. So that's going to be another one of the offensive shootouts. I think the Rams are going to be involved in 3 more shootouts against the Saints, against the Chiefs, and against the Eagles. We'll get to the Eagles later, though. Then after the Chiefs, they have the Lions. The Lions are probably going to have another typical Detroit season. The Rams are just better than the Lions. Enough said. The Chicago Bears, that is an interesting game. The Bears have Khalil Mack, the best defensive player in the NFL. And they just have a really solid defense. Now, what I think of the rest of the Bears team, their offense, I'm not sure. And then they have the Eagles. It all depends on how Carson Wentz is. I think by that point, Carson Wentz will have recovered from his ACL injury. And it's going to be a shootout. And, the better team is going to win that game. Then their last 2 games of the season are really easy. The Arizona Cardinals and the San Francisco 49ers. The Cardinals, they already destroyed. So I think it would just be more of the same. And the Niners, like we said, CJ Beathard. So I think the Rams are 4-0 already. I think they won't lose a game until the Saints. They could lose to the Saints. I don't know if they lose to the Saints, but I think they could realistically start out the season 8-0. Now, one of those 4 games they could lose. They actually could lose to Aaron Rodgers. But if we're being ultra conservative, they beat the Seahawks, they beat the Broncos, they beat the 49ers. They're 7-0. They lose to the Packers, the Saints, 7-2, 8-2 against the Seahawks, 8-3 against the Chiefs, 9-3 against the Lions, 10-3 against the Bears, 10-4 against the Eagles, and then 12-4. So I think this team loses 2 to 4 games in the season. I do think that they beat one of the games that I said they could lose. I think they beat Aaron Rodgers and they beat Drew Brees. I don't trust them to go 16-0. I'm not saying the Rams are going to go 16-0 because I just don't think it will happen. It's so hard to do that. I mean, people said the Patriots were going to go 16-0 last year. It's just not going to happen. All right, thanks for your time. And I'll see you in a couple of days to talk about the Dodgers postseason because this is being recorded about an hour after they clinched. So I'll either be talking about an NL West champion or a wild card preview or even a game 163 preview. I don't know. So thank you. See you next week.